তোমার সুবিধার জন্য,
This
nothing for
call
me.
is now being recorded.
So the class is being recorded with your consent. So যেটা গেছে গেছে। আচ্ছা, so আমরা এখান থেকে স্টার্ট করছি। So these are the list of the experiments. So these are the list of the experiments. So initially we have universal testing machine, and then we have the hardness testing machine. So hardness testing in our syllabus, actually nothing is mentioned. So there are many sorts of hardness testings actually. So we will be concentrating on the basic two. One is the Brinell hardness testing, and another one is the Rockwell hardness testing. And there is another one, Vickers hardness, and there are many hardness tests that are available. But we will be focusing on the first two actually, Brinell hardness and Rockwell hardness. And third one is an impact testing actually. So impact testing is where the load is being applied very, in an impact fashion, or for a very short duration actually. So whenever you are doing a UTM machine test actually, so here the load is actually being applied gradually. And whenever you are doing an impact test on the specimen, the load is being applied in an impact fashion, or the load is acting for a very short duration of the time. So this is the third experiment. Fourth one is the moment of inertia of a compound pendulum. So you have heard of like simple pendulum. Okay, so what is the difference between a simple pendulum and a compound pendulum? I hope you have studied. So whenever the mass is concentrated at one point, at the bob actually, so you are having a simple pendulum. And whenever the mass is actually distributed all over the body, which is a very general case actually. So in that case, we call it as a compound pendulum. So suppose an engine crankshaft actually. So we take a engine crankshaft. So this is, I think, you draw it at your like AutoCAD classes and all. This is a very basic thing that we give the students to draw. So a engine crankshaft, so that thing, so determination of the MI, or the moment of inertia of a crankshaft of an engine, so that one forms the fourth experiment. The fifth one is the torsion testing. So torsion testing, generally we measure the shear modulus. We have studied like Young's modulus and the shear modulus. Have you studied these things?
Yes, sir.
So Young's modulus, if you want to find out the Young's modulus of say mild steel, you have to go to the universal testing machine, or you have to conduct a tensile test. And if you want to find out the shear modulus of the mild steel specimen, so you have to go for the torsion testing of the mild steel specimen. And determination of the nature of the graph between the shear stress, shear strain, and all these are part of the experiments itself. And the last one is the strain gauge experiments, where using a strain gauge we will be measuring the like displacement, strains, and everything that is getting developed in a specimen. So this is in overall the basic experiments, or the major experiments that will form the part of our syllabus. So today we'll be starting with the hardness testing machine, and as I had discussed, after the class I will be sending you the video of the same, the videography of the same. You can go through the experiment, and then next class we will be having a discussion on the experiment part. And today class we will be having a discussion on the basics of hardness testing. So what is hardness of a material and all those things we will be discussing today. Okay, so coming to this part, so what is the hardness of a material? So hardness, hardness, it's a very basic property of the material, but it is not a characteristic property or a fundamental property of the material. So you can see that hardness is a characteristics of a material, but not a fundamental physical property of the material. So basically, hardness is something that forms the surface that we measure at the surface of the specimen. Okay, suppose I am doing a metal cutting. Suppose in the lab, in the workshop, actually you have seen that we do a metal cutting actually. Suppose we take a cutting tool and then we cut a job. So we fit a job on the lathe machine, and then we cut it using a cutting tool. So what do you suppose? Which one has to be harder? The cutting tool material or the job material? The material being cut or the material that is cutting? Which one has to be harder?
The material which is cutting.
Okay, so the material that is actually cutting, that has to be of a higher hardness. So that is just a relative property of the material. That is, so any hardness. So whenever we mention the hardness of a material, that is never an absolute property of the material. That is a relative property between two specimens. So I am taking two specimens that one is having a lower hardness, one is having a higher hardness. So the material that is having a higher hardness can scratch on the other material. It can penetrate on the other material. It can cut the other material. So the higher hardness material has the ability to scratch, or it has the ability to indent on the other material. So it is just a relative comparison between two materials. So if you want to find out which material has the ability to cut the other material, or which material has a higher indentation strength or a higher like cutting strength and all those things, so in that case we define the hardness of a material. So hardness is generally measured at the surface of the material. Suppose I take a specimen. So if I say the Young's modulus of this specimen, say mild steel specimen, I say the Young's modulus of this specimen is say 210 GPa, which is a very basic data for mild steel specimen. So when I say that the Young's modulus of the mild steel is 210 GPa, so that means that at the entire point or on the entire structure or the volume of this specimen, actually at all the points it will be having the same value of the Young's modulus. But whenever I am specifying the hardness, hardness is actually something that may vary along the thickness of the material also. So generally what happens is, suppose that we have some like additive material. Say if I add some amount of carbon and also we can do some we can do some alterations in the hardness of the material. So at certain point, if it is having a higher carbon percentage, so that point that will be having a higher hardness. At other point of the specimen, if that is having a lower carbon percentage, that will be having a lesser hardness. So hardness, that is a property of the material, and that changes with many things like heat treatment, like carbon percentage, like any other additives and all. So based on many factors during the manufacturing or during the processing of the specimen, the hardness of the material varies. So at any two or at any different points of the specimen, you can get different hardness for the same material. So it's not an absolute property of the material. The point we are measuring, actually at that point we'll be having some value of the hardness, and that is just a relative thing that I can use to compare the hardness between two specimens. So the second point, you can see that it's not a fundamental physical property of the material. So even mild steel specimen, so you are having one mild steel specimen and you're having a second mild steel specimen. So the first one is having higher carbon percentage, the second one is having a lower carbon percentage. So the first one will be having a higher hardness and the second one will be having a lower hardness. Suppose I heat treat one actually. So that will be, so again the hardness value can change. So that is, so just I want to explain that hardness is not a fundamental property. It may change based on the carbon percentage, it may change based on the like heat treatment process you are doing and all those things. Like whatever alloying substances you are adding and all, based on all those things, the hardness of the material can be different even inside the same specimen. So you take the same specimen at two different points, you can be having two different values of the hardness. So the measurements are relative actually. So whenever you are measuring the hardness of two materials actually, so whatever measurements you are doing, that is a relative measurement between two materials, two specimens, A and B. So the fourth one is hardness value that to be specified with testing parameters. So based on this, we will be measuring the hardness of a specimen. So we have to standardize some of the things. So what are the things that we can standardize? So the thing that we standardize is the load that we are applying on the specimen. So see, using a fixed force load. So we are fixing the load and the given indenter. So what is the indenter that I am applying on this specimen? So I am keeping a, say suppose a specimen, and then I am applying a load on it, say suppose X. So suppose this is a specimen, a round specimen. On this I am applying an indenter. So I can have a conical indenter. I can have a suppose this is the specimen, a plate suppose, and then I am suppose this is a spherical indenter. So this spherical indenter is, so I will be forcing this spherical indenter on this specimen actually. So what will happen is this indenter that will be causing some indentation on the surface of the material. So that indentation is basically a measure. So based on a certain force. So say suppose the force I am applying is suppose 40 kilonewton, or just that is a fixed value actually. So for a certain force I am taking two specimens and then I am applying a load using a specific indenter type. The indenter type is also fixed. Either it can be a spherical indenter, it can be a conical indenter, it can be a spheroconical indenter, it can be made of carbide indenter, or the thing is fixed actually, and the same, using the same load and the same indenter, I am testing two specimens. So the specimen that is having higher hardness, that will be having lower penetration depth, lower indentation depth, and the specimen that is having lower hardness, that will be having higher indentation depth. Clear? বুঝতে পারছো? Suppose I am taking two specimens. Hello?
Yes, sir. Clear.
So suppose say I am taking two specimens. I am taking specimen A and I am taking specimen B. So if I want to standardize the testing procedure, so I have to keep certain things constant. So what are the things that I am keeping constant? The two things that I am keeping constant is, number one is the load. So the load is fixed. Suppose say the load is say 100 kg force, 50 kg force, whatever is the thing based on the hardness tests that we will be doing. We will be fixing the load value. So say suppose this load value is something constant, it's fixed, and the indenter type. So I can indent on this specimen using a conical indenter, spherical indenter, or any other indenter type actually, but that is fixed actually. So once I fix these two actually, say suppose I am indenting it using an indenter. Say suppose this one is the indenter. Similarly, say suppose this one is the indenter. So I am indenting the surface of the specimen. So if I apply the load using this indenter, what will be happen is the specimen will be, suppose it will be deformed. So there will be some amount of penetration on the surface. So this indentation depth. So if I say that this was my original surface and this one is the indentation depth. So this indentation depth. If I can measure, so the specimen that is having higher hardness, that will be experiencing lower indentation depth, and similarly the specimen that is having lower hardness, that will be having higher indentation depth. Clear?
Got it, sir.
So for any hardness test, we have to fix two things. One is the load value, another one is the indenter type. And keeping these two things constants, we can measure the indentation. Either the indentation diameter or the indentation depth, many things we can measure. So the smaller the indentation, the harder the material, and vice versa. So whatever is the indentation value, either the diameter of the indentation or the height of the indentation, depth of the indentation. So if it is smaller, I can say that the material is having lower hardness. If it is higher, I can say that the material is having higher hardness. But you can understand that that is just a like relative measurement. So suppose for the specimen A and specimen B, this is just a relative measurement of the specimens. I cannot change the, like if I change the 40 kilonewton to 50 kilonewton and all, then entire thing changes actually. My scale and my everything changes actually. So we have standardized all those things. So what are the things that we have standardized? We have standardized the load value and we have standardized the indenter type. So based on this combination of the load value and the indenter types, we can be having different types of hardness scales actually. So let's go to the hardness scales. So it is similar to something, say like you measure like coefficient of friction. So coefficient of friction, suppose it doesn't has any value. So whenever we will be measuring hardness, the answers will be in numbers actually. We will be getting Brinell hardness number, we will be getting Rockwell hardness number. So they don't have any absolute units actually. They are just certain numbers, and if you place the numbers, so the higher one is having higher hardness, lower one is having lower hardness. Similar to like coefficient of friction, you have say mu values, say mu1, mu2. So if mu1 is greater than mu2, that surface will be having higher friction. That doesn't has any units actually. Okay, so that depends on the roughness, specimen roughness, and all those things that depends actually. So it's a concept similar to that actually. It's not a basic fundamental property of the material. It's just a relative property that helps us to like categorize the different substances, different engineering materials based on their hardness. So hardness definition. So it's defined as the resistance to plastic deformation. So this place I will be explaining in more details. I mean, I am just keeping this place highlighted. So it's just the resistance to plastic deformation. So we could have said like it's just a resistance to elastic deformation, but we are saying that it's a resistance to plastic deformation. So this point I will be explaining more why it is called the resistance to plastic deformation. What has happened to the elastic part? Okay. So the resistance can be of many types actually. So indentation or penetration. So whenever it's actually penetrating on the surface, actually it is moving across the depth. So you'll be having one indentation or penetration resistance of the material. You can have a scratching on the material. So if you have seen a grinding wheels and all, so there actually we have like scratching. Suppose you take a stone and you scratch it on the surface of the other material. So that's just scratching the surface of the other thing actually. Okay? Then abrasion is like abrasion or grinding wheels and all. And then cutting actually, suppose I am cutting a cutting tool actually, or a cutting a specimen is cutting the other specimen actually. So there can be many resistances actually. So we will be only studying the first one. So we will be only studying the indentation or the penetration hardness, where where the specimen is actually indenting on the surface. So if this is the surface actually, so the indenter, however, whatever be the shape of the indenter, the indenter is actually indenting on the depth of the material actually. So if this is the direction of the load is being load applied, and this is the this is the surface of the engineering specimen. So you will be having some penetration. So the final shape will be, suppose if I draw it here actually, so it will be there will be certain penetration on the surface. So that can be something like, say, this. So this is the final depth of penetration. So the applied load is in a direction perpendicular to the surface of the specimen, so that you are getting a penetration depth actually. So we'll be only studying the indentation of the penetration hardness. Okay, so hardness is measured on a hardness testing machine. So you can be having, as I told, like based on the load type and the load value and the indenter type, we can be having different combinations of them, and we can be having different hardness tests actually. So the basic one was your Mohs hardness, Mohs scale, and after that we can have a Brinell hardness test. So whatever machine you are measuring, so that forms the hardness number. So Brinell hardness test, so you get the Brinell hardness number. Rockwell hardness test, you get the Rockwell hardness number. Vickers hardness test, you get the Vickers hardness number. Knoop hardness test, you get the Knoop hardness number, and so on and so forth. So there can be many, like rebound hardness and many things, like many hardness things that can be measured. So in our syllabus or part of our syllabus, we will be studying these two only. Like syllabus, they have just mentioned like hardness test, but based on the laboratory experiments that we do, we have the experimental setup for these two things, the Brinell hardness test and the Rockwell hardness test, which I will be explaining in the class. So these are the hardness types. Achha. So now I come back to this part actually, where we wanted to have a short discussion on resistance to the plastic deformation. So what is resistance to the plastic deformation? So suppose we are having, so suppose this is the, suppose the specimen. So this is suppose the specimen onto which I am applying a certain force using an indenter. Okay, so the specimen actually gets deformed. So if the specimen was say this was the original surface of the specimen, and after you apply the load using the indenter, you are having an indentation depth, and that indentation of the penetration depth is something, say, delta. So let us assume that this indentation of the penetration that happens on the material, let us assume that is given by delta. So this delta, so whenever you are actually deforming a specimen, so the deformation will be actually having two parts. So one is the elastic part. So you are having, so delta actually consists of two things. One is the elastic part, which I am calling it as delta E. So this is the elastic deformation that is being caused in the specimen, and along with that you are having a delta P. The lekhata khub mushkil, writing is very difficult. So just I am এটা undo করা যায়? ঠিক আছে, so delta E plus আমি এটা কেটে দিলাম, this part I have just removed. So delta E plus delta P. ঠিক আছে? So whenever you are causing a deformation on a specimen, it will be having two parts. One is the elastic deformation on the specimen, and the other part is the plastic deformation of the specimen. So that is why whenever we do an experiment, the elastic part, that is something that will vanish. Right? The elastic deformation to kichu hoy na. Elastic banege, you are deforming a specimen. So initially you will be having some part, some part that is actually elastic in nature. So once you keep the load, you keep some dwell time. So after that time, the elastic part that will recover by itself. Only the plastic part that will actually remain in the specimen actually. So you are indenting the specimen using a, say, indenter. So once you remove the indenter actually, so the indentation of the specimen will remain actually, some impression of the indenter that will remain on the specimen. So that impression actually, so that impression, so whatever was the elastic part, that elastic part will recover by itself. That doesn't form any like agreeable deformation actually. ঠিক আছে? Only the plastic part of the deformation that actually will remain in the material, and that part only we can measure using the hardness testing machines and all. So that is why this hardness is always defined as the resistance to plastic deformation. So whatever is the plastic deformation that is being caused on the specimen, that actually forms the measurement of hardness. So the elastic part that actually recovers by itself. So always we'll be explaining in more detail actually. So whenever you are applying some load during a like hardness test, so you keep the load for a certain dwell time. So what is the dwell time for? So you keep the load for a certain dwell time. So during the dwell time, actually the elastic part actually that actually recovers by itself. Only the plastic part of the deformation that remains in the material. And that measurement of this, so whenever I am measuring the hardness actually, so I am only measuring this delta P part. So this delta E part has nothing to do with the hardness of the specimen. This actually recovers by itself. This will recover by itself if you keep the load for a certain dwell time, or when you remove the load actually, or when you remove the indenter, this elastic deformation part will recover by itself. Only the plastic deformation, generally plastic deformation is something that I can see with the eye actually. So that plastic deformation delta V will remain in the specimen, and the measurements or everything that we do that is always the plastic part of the deformation. Okay, so now coming to the Brinell hardness test. So this is a specific test. So here we will be using. So I had told you that the two things I have to like keep constant. So the first thing is the indenter type. So the indenter type is we use a steel ball indenter. So it's either a steel spherical indenter or a ball indenter we say. So using a steel ball indenter is placed against the test surface at a predefined load. So we'll be coming to the load actually. So a predefined load, based on a predefined load, we apply the load on the specimen actually, and then the diameter of the indentation impression. So whatever was the impression diameter is estimated using a Brinell microscope. So whenever you're indenting actually, so the indentation is very small actually. So when you will be seeing in the like videography and all, and if you can see it in the actual experiments setup and all, the indenter is very small in diameter actually, like very small one, even like কত হবে ধরো মাপলে maybe it may be like 1 millimeter and all. ঠিক আছে, so তার যে ইন্ডেন্টেশনটা হবে, so ইন্ডেন্টেশনটা তো it will be a very small indentation actually. So অত যে, so that small indentation that you have to use a Brinell microscope actually. So unless you use a microscope, you won't be able to take the like measurements of the impression diameter actually. So just keep it in mind that whenever you are doing a Brinell hardness test, you are measuring the impression diameter, and whenever you are measuring the Rockwell hardness test, whenever you are doing a Rockwell hardness test, we are measuring the impression depth, not the diameter. Brinell we measure the diameter of the impression, and in Rockwell we measure the depth of impression. And as I told you that the indenter that we'll be using in a Brinell hardness test, that is a very small size, like say suppose 1 millimeter actually. So that indentation depth actually, or impression that impression is very small to be measured. So that for that we have to use a Brinell microscope. So a microscopic attachment is always present with the setup itself, or it can be in many machine it can come as a different attachment. So after you apply the load, you take out the specimen, and then on that specimen you just put the Brinell microscope, and then you measure the impression diameter of the specimen. So the BHN is a number. So the basic thing that initially we had discussed is always the hardness numbers that we measure, they are actually some relative measurements. So that is basically a number actually. So that's a number that I can use to compare 2 or 3 specimens, and is a measure of the relative hardness among materials. So among different materials, so suppose you are having 3-4 materials having different values of the Brinell hardness number. So you can say that this material is harder than this material is harder than this, and all these things. But that is not a fundamental property which you can like use in all your engineering calculations and all, as you do for Young's modulus. So Young's modulus is something that is given in the problem, and you apply Young's modulus. But Brinell hardness number is not that thing. It's just a relative measurement between specimens. And it is also related. It's related to the tensile strength of the material. So there are certain relations based on the range of the Brinell hardness number. So I'll also be sharing the lab manuals with you. So in the lab manuals, it's given like what is the relationship between the Brinell hardness number and the tensile strength of the material. So there are certain 3 or 4 relations. So based on the range of the BHN values, you will be having certain relations between the BHN and the tensile strength of the material. So that is very well given in the lab manual, and I will be sharing the lab manual with you by today itself. I hope it's with me. And it is such a, so what is the other difference? So the first difference that I told you about the Brinell hardness and the Rockwell hardness was, Brinell we measure the impression diameter, Rockwell we measure the impression depth. And the second one is where do we use the things actually. So whenever the surface is very coarse or rough actually, we go for the Brinell hardness test actually. And whenever the surface is very fine actually, or the grains actually, so there is something called the grains and all those things. So that is part of the like metallography and all. I'm not going into this. So whenever the grains that form the structure, they are very coarse, or the surfaces are very rough, we use the Brinell hardness test. And whenever the surfaces are very are comparatively smooth and the grains are finer, we go for the Rockwell hardness test. Okay. So the next thing is this one. The first thing that's written is the surface to be tested should be free from rust, paint, oil, or protective coating. So this is a very general thing that has to be followed for any hardness test that you do. And I hope that you can understand this one, because whenever you're doing an experiment actually, so I am actually testing the hardness of the like surface of the specimen. So if I don't remove the rust or the protective coatings from the surface of the specimen, so whenever I'm indenting the surface, actually I get the Brinell hardness number for the protective coating itself. I'm not getting the hardness value for the metal or the specimen. So whenever you are testing some specimens, so there has to be some specimen preparations. So as part of the specimen preparations, you have to remove any dust, oil, and anything like that actually hampers your measurement value. So whenever I am measuring the indentation depth, diameter, anything, so the surfaces have to be smooth. The rust, paints, everything has to be removed. So this is a very basic surface preparation that you have to follow when you are doing before doing any hardness test. Just 1 minute. ঠিক আছে আচ্ছা so so in cases, since we are using a steel ball, so it is not used for very hard materials. So for very hard materials like fully hardened steel and all, so in that case we have to go for either diamond or carbide indenters and all. So it's a thing that has to be used for medium hardness material. So generally, when you go to the lab and when you see the videography, I hope that will be there also. So on the body of the body of the machine actually, so you'll be having a testing apparatus like this. So you'll be having a Brinell hardness test or something like this. So at this point, so if you look at this, at this point, it will be having some. So at this point, actually, there is a chart. So at this point, say suppose there is a chart fitted on the body of the specimen, body of the testing machine, where they have given for what material you have to use what, or for what type of materials you can use this tester actually. So like what are the materials that you say, mild steel or any material. So based on the material, you have to adopt the procedure that you will be using. So say suppose for mild steel, if it's recommended, you can go for Brinell material. Say for very hard material, you don't go for the Brinell test, you go for other tests on Rockwell and all. ঠিক আছে? আচ্ছা. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the thing. So so this is the test surface actually. So on the test surface, a steel ball or a ball indenter is being projected on the surface, and there is an impression that will be formed on the surface. So the B shape actually, so once I remove the ball actually, so the ball indenter, once I remove it, and if I look at it from the top actually, so if I look at it from the so if I look at it from the top actually, so I'll be getting this impression depth. So once I remove the ball actually, ball indenter, so the thing that will remain is something like this. So this is the impression of the ball actually. So if I see it from the top, I should be able to see this impression diameter. So this impression diameter is generally we measure it using the Brinell microscope. So we take two measurements, D1 and D2, and then we form an average of D1 and D2. So D is the average impression diameter of the indentation in millimeters actually. I have told you that it's a very small actually. So the indenter might be of say 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter maybe. So the impression depth actually that is getting formed is also like that order actually. So that D1, D2, you can take 2-3 measurements, and then you can take the average of the impression diameter, and then that forms the value of the small d. Capital D is the diameter of the steel ball or the diameter of the indenter, and capital P is the test load in kg force. Generally, that's 100 kgf and all. So that test load that will be applied. So the BHN value is something that is given by P, capital P divided by pi d by 2, capital D minus root over of capital D square minus small d square. So this is the expression based on which we calculate the BHN value. So the derivation for this is also very pretty straightforward. Actually, you can do it by yourselves, or I can do it on the next class. Actually, maybe next day, maybe I can discuss the derivation and all. Though the derivation is not part of the experiments and all. So this is the expression for the BHN. So this is a very important relationship that relates the BHN or the Brinell hardness number with the load being applied. So P has to be applied in kg. So whatever is the load in kg you put there, what capital D and small d, they are in millimeter, and capital D is the diameter of the steel ball or the indenter, and small d is the diameter of the impression or the diameter of the indentation that is being formed. So small d is something that you can measure it using the like Brinell microscope, and capital D is something that you have to measure it using the say vernier caliper and all. You can measure the indenter. Oh yeah, that is given actually. Capital D value that is actually available with the with us actually. So that is a steel ball indenter. So that is a very that is a very basic thing. That value is available. But small d is something that you have to measure. So this is the test setup. So just I had discussed. So this is a hand wheel. So this is the hand wheel, and this is the elevating screw. This is the anvil. So at this point, just at the top of the anvil, the specimen is kept. So suppose I am having a specimen whose hardness value has to be checked. So that is kept on the anvil, and then using this hand wheel, the hand wheel is rotated, and the elevating screw just goes up, and then it touches the indenter. And the load that I am applying, say suppose 100 kg of force if I need to apply, there is certain hanger and pulley arrangement actually. So based on this pulley arrangement, we can check the load that I need to apply. So if it's a 10 kg of force, we can make some arrangements here, and then I can fix it to something say 100 kg of force, so that this 100 kg of force comes through this indenter. So now this indenter, so once you rotate the hand wheel, the elevating screw will get up, and this test specimen gets in touch with the indenter. Now you keep it in this position, and then using this load and the pulley arrangement, now the load of something say capital P is applied on the specimen. This one is the specimen in red I have drawn, using the indenter. So the now indenter indents the specimen for a certain amount of time, and then the indenter is removed. Then the specimen is taken out, and then the specimen. The microscope is here itself, so directly. So sometimes, as I had told you, that sometimes this microscope is integrated in the machine, and sometimes it comes as a separate arrangement, as in our lab actually. So just you can take out the specimen, and then using the microscope, Brinell microscope, you can measure the indentation, impression, diameter, and all. Okay, sir. So it is just a side view of the thing. So this is the total of frame actually, the total frame. So actually initially when you are fixing the machine, any machine that you are fixing, that has to be fitted on a very solid foundation, okay? So that vibration, so whenever you are applying some loads and all, whenever you are doing some like applied mechanics test, suppose you are doing a UTM machine, universal testing machine, you are working with like impact testing machine, you are working with hardness testing machine. So whatever experiment you are doing, you have to go for a civil foundation. So the foundation must be very strong, so that there are no vibrations, or the loads that are acting, they are the load is being acting like in perpendicular with the surface of this specimen. So that these are very like basic precautions that we have to adopt while we are doing the hardness testing thing. So you can see that the entire machine is fitted on a very solid foundation actually. So here you will be having a very solid foundation for this specimen actually. There has to be a very solid foundation for the specimen. Okay, sir. This one is the elevating screw. This goes up, and then this is the sample. So the sample is kept in touch with the hardened steel ball, and then here you are having a load and pulley arrangement. So using the load and pulley arrangement, the load is being applied on the specimen in this side. So once the load has been applied, the specimen is then removed, and then you measure the impression, diameter, and all, and from there you calculate the BHN value. So this is just a stepwise thing of the thing. So just the initial one. The first one is a very basic thing, that you have to remove all the dirt, oil, and everything. Like if there are any coatings and all, everything has to be removed. Next thing is you have to assure that the parts are held very securely, which I was telling, that whenever you're doing an experiment, the foundation has to be very strong actually, because you are applying the load perpendicular to the specimen actually. So if the foundation is not wrong actually, and you are applying 100 kg of force, the specimen gets tilted maybe. Okay, so in that case, the load is not at all perpendicular to the surface of the specimen. In that case, you don't get any reliable values for the like impression diameter or the impression depth, anything. So the specimen, so the actual experiment don't give you any like reliable values. So that is why. So the parts, every part. So either the load applying part or the specimen, the thing on which the specimen is resting, they have to be in absolute perpendicularity with each other. Okay, so the entire thing has to be held very securely. So that is a very basic thing when you are doing the experiments. So raise the spherical indenter according to the red mark on the scale. So there are certain red marks and all based on which you can like apply the load and all. Achha, so in this case, we have applied a 30 kgf load. Okay? So we have to apply a 30 kgf load and wait for 30 seconds actually. Okay? So 30 seconds. So এই যে loader value টা, load টা আমি একটু just I have to check with our manuals actually. So আমাদের manual এটা কত আছে? I will be just seeing and telling you that one. ঠিক আছে? Wait for 30 seconds. So এই যে 30 seconds, that's a dwell time. So why is the dwell time given? Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Why is the dwell time given? Is a dwell time and wait for 30 seconds. So I am waiting. Why I am waiting for 30 seconds? I am applying the load and I am waiting for 30 seconds. Why? Because as I told you
Because
that
you have to
whenever
make a permanent deformation.
no, because whenever I told you that whenever you are deforming the specimen, you are actually coming up with elastic part and plastic part. But hardness is only defined for the plastic part, not for the elastic part. So you wait